Hello, and welcome to episode 6 of One Man's Opinion, and holy cow, am I in a good mood, because I am reviewing my first Broadway show since about 18 months ago. If you're looking at this and going, what are you talking about? This is only the first Broadway show on this channel. Well, that's because previously I had been reviewing theater for a local newspaper here in Connecticut, and I've since moved on from reviewing theater for them, and now doing this independently. So here I am, and I've been reviewing Broadway theater for about 3 years now, at least, maybe 4 years now. Today, I am reviewing Antoinette Chinonye Nwandu's Passover, playing at the August Wilson Theater at 245 West 52nd Street in New York City, and it is on a limited run through October 10th. Now, I couldn't be more pleased with this being my first show back to Broadway. Directed by Danya Taymor, Passover is brilliant. It's emotional, poignant, and a piece of theater that would never have seen the light of day on a Broadway stage, I would say even 5-10 years ago, and would have likely, at best, had a solid run at like La Mama or maybe, at best, one of the larger off-Broadway houses. Now, the reason is just that the play deals with some real dramatic racial issues, and the language is really strong, and I'll get into that more. The play originated at Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago before making a stop at Lincoln Center before it moved to its current residence. There was also a well-received recording of the play available to stream, directed by Spike Lee, which I would suspect helped bolster support to get it to Broadway. Now, let me make it clear. This is on a limited run. Like I said, it runs to October 10th. And with how many empty seats there currently are at the August Wilson Theater, when I saw it on Saturday, if you can go see Passover, put aside the remote, see it in person. It's so worth it. The recording can wait a month, and at that point you can watch it to your heart's content. As I said, the house was half empty. The ushers, once the play was just about to start, were escorting people from the back of the house down to the front so they can get a better seat, because there were just so many empty seats there. The house was literally about half full when I went. Now I get it. COVID hesitancy is a legitimate concern, but security and staff did do their due diligence in making sure that every audience member followed the Broadway COVID guidelines. They checked for vaccination cards with photo IDs. They made sure everybody had their mask on the entire show. If you didn't have a vaccine card but you were recently tested, you could have that. If you're vaccinated or diligently being tested, this show deserves your support to come and see it. It's so worth seeing. Now, Passover tells the story of two young black men, Moses, played by John Michael Hill, and Kitch, played by Namir Smallwood. Though visually, the play is set in a street corner in a rundown neighborhood of a nondescript city. As the playbill indicates, it can be set in any time and anywhere, whether it be 1440 BCE or sometime in the future. It could be a ghetto street or a desert city built by slaves. The where and the when isn't really important. You can change the costumes to make them fit wherever you want, because Chinonye Nwandu's story is timeless. Because no matter where or when you are, there are always people suppressed by other people. It's a universal narrative and should be relatable to almost anybody. Now, Moses and Kitch, they live on the streets. They spend their days dreaming of getting off the block and passing over, whether it be passing over across the street or getting a new job or whatever. It's the implication and the metaphor is passing over into the promised land, and they talk about the promised land. They describe what would be their respective promised lands, their places of milk and honey, and they use it with wonderful, colorful metaphors. It's delightful, it's funny, it's great. The catch is, they have no idea how to do it. It reminded me very much of Eugene O'Neill's The Iceman Cometh, where all the characters are at a bar and they're talking about, I'm going to do big things. I'm going to do big things. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And they never do. But with these guys, it's different. It's not because they're old drunken louts. They're young men who have never had the leadership. They've never had the community support that get them to where they want to be. Neither of them is well educated, and they've been living under the oppression that is their class and upbringing all their lives. Most everyone they know has either been killed by a cop or black on black violence. There's a lot of conditions in their world that don't give them the hope to be as successful as they dream to be. But even though it sounds bleak, Chinonye and Nwandu's banter for the two men is overall light and funny, and it's honest and not heavy-handed. It's not preachy. It's very relatable. Now, as the play moves on, they're sitting there living out their directionless pipe dreams, and the two are met by a character named Mr., played by Gabriel Ebert. His name is actually something different, but I won't spoil that for you. He's a white man dressed like a early 20th century Southern man of gentility, but he has a very innocent, boyish language that is so sugary sweet that it would make Mr. Rogers diabetic, I swear. Now, despite all odds, Moses and Kitch, they form an unlikely bond that propel the rest of the plot, particularly regarding the interactions of the two of them with a racist cop who is also played by Ebert, which I can't directly get into without entering spoiler region again. So if you want me to do a separate spoiler-laden review, I can. If just post down below that you would like to hear my spoiler-laden thoughts, and I can make another video for this. But right now, I'll just leave this as it is. So the rest of the play, it elevates the themes that are present in Passover and the many metaphors the term entails of Passover, particularly the two big ones. The Passover celebration of Jewish history regarding the 10th plague of the book of Exodus, when Moses takes the Hebrews and they leave Egypt. And the other use of Passover is the term passing over, as in death. Now, there are questions raised with Passover and its relationship to the promised land and how we pass over into that promised land. Like, what really makes the promised land the promised land? What does it take to get there? How do you know when you've reached it? And if you think you've reached it, is it the real promised land? Is it a temporal place? Is it a metaphysical place? Is it a place that can be reached while living, or is it solely in the afterlife? It leads up to the last 10 minutes, which is dynamic and horrific, but the conclusion is powerful and inspiring, and also with a touch of foreboding and warning. Part of Chinonye and Nwandu's conclusion is definitive, but other moments are left for interpretation as to exactly what happens. Now, I've got my personal thoughts, but again, like I said, that would lead to spoilers, which I can reveal privately if you want, or in another video. Now, the performances are all superb. Michael Hill has been with the production since the beginning. He is very comfortable with Moses and his portrayal of him and who he is. His chemistry with Smallwood is perfect. They are like brothers, and the relationship translates beautifully on stage. They bicker, they argue, they goof around, they joke with each other. Their language is coarse, and there's lots of it, but it is theirs, and it is part of their identity. And frankly, at this point, we shouldn't be too shocked by the language that the play presents. Personally, I wasn't shocked by it at all. And if anything, Mr.'s language should be the more shocking in the play, because it is so diametrically different. But then again, even though I'm white, and I've lived in multi-ethnic communities in New York City, and worked with a lot of people of color when I served in the Navy, and a lot of them routinely used the N-word around me. And So maybe I'm just more comfortable with it and its use around me than many other white people. Maybe I don't know. I've never really discussed that with my white friends as to how comfortable they are with that word being used around them. So one of the other brilliant reasons for this play is that it creates dialogue, and I hope it does. But let's get into this design now. Talk about it briefly. Wilson Chin's scenic design and the lighting design by Marcus Doshi is brilliant. You're not going to get too much early on, and you're gonna think, why am I commending this so much? Trust me, when it's the last 15 to 20 minutes, it's worth the wait, and the payoff is fantastic. Passover, it is, for me, a perfect show to kick the Broadway season off, and to bring it back in this, what I would like to say, post-pandemic world, even though we're not post-pandemic yet. It's smart, it's funny, dark, haunting, and has one of the most thought-provoking endings I've seen in a play for a long time, and it's really worth the trip into New York to go see. And you've only got about 3.5, 4 weeks left before it closes, so I highly endorse this show. So go see Passover at the August Wilson Theater. And that's one man's opinion of Antoinette, Chinonye, and Nwandu's Passover, playing through October 10th at August Wilson Theater on Broadway. Leave your opinion in the comments below. My next review that's currently scheduled is Ireton Playhouse's production of Porch on Windy Hill. It'll be part of 3 shows that I'm seeing the last weekend of September, so there will be 3 Connecticut reviews coming up. Additional information for Passover is below, so look at that if you want to inquire about tickets. And like I said, go see Passover. I'd also like to thank Daniel Silva for the new One Man's Opinion logo, which I think looks wonderful. And I'd also like to thank my good friend Seth Morgan for creating the intro and outro music. So thank you very much for listening. This is One Man's Opinion, and I'll see you at the theater.